point of Tahrir Square, where the tanks are, where the people are, that there's more opportunity for either side to intimidate the other?
Definitely, I would actually say forceful intimidation going on for anyone who's trying to get into Tahrir Square. Also intimidation for those who are inside the square who might want to leave that square because they have been stranded inside and some of them don't have food or water, or they might just want to get out of there. Also intimidation that if they try to get out, they might get beaten up as well.
We've been talking a lot about the unpredictability of everything we've seen in the last week or so. What does it feel like right now, given what we saw yesterday? What's the feeling like and the anticipation for what could happen today?
Well, there's certainly fear that the fight will actually move all around the square, so really move into the residential areas, around the big tourist hotels, the embassies who are around those areas, or in the little narrow streets around that area. So certainly a lot of fear going on, and people are keeping away from there. Now, I've also done a tour around the rest of the city, and by and large, the streets are empty, the shops are closed. Nobody's actually really venturing on the street. In some further away areas, there is some sort of normalcy, but really very light. It feels as if it's a holiday and everything is shut down, really. So certainly people are trying to keep away from that area.
Is there disbelief amongst the people there? I know that's a very broad question, but I keep saying when we watch the pictures from here, you sit in amazement sometimes, amazed at what's going on there. Are people surprised by the turns and twists that this has taken in the last 7 to 10 days?
People are surprised, and I have to tell you, when you walk on the street, everyone is talking about what's going on, and obviously you hear a million different explanations that people have. Some people are pointing fingers to foreign forces, are saying that the protesters inside are all backed by Iran or by Israel or by the US. You hear all sorts of theories going on. Some people are obviously pro-democracy protesters. Others are getting simply angry because their livelihood has been cut off, and they're starting to fight on the streets because they don't know how to get by. They don't have money anymore. There is no food. The shops are closed, and they're also getting angry. So you're also seeing a kind of rift going on. Some people saying we were supporting these pro-democracy protesters. People here need more freedoms. People here need to get their rights. But some of the people who are supporting them, life is becoming so difficult that they are also becoming angry. So I think really the impact of all this beyond Tahrir Square is that the society is being sort of ripped apart, divided. One man told me, I can't even trust my neighbor anymore because I don't know what he thinks, who he is for and who is he against. So people are, this fear that's going on, and this is fear is not anymore the fear from the government. It's actually people fearing each other, big divisions between the society, people not knowing exactly who is backing who and who you should actually try to back.
Thanks for that update. That's really great. I think it's a really interesting point to make, that people there in Cairo saying, I can't even trust my own neighbour, people they would have turned to and looked to before, and now such is the suspicion, the fear, and that's completely understandable given what we've seen, that people can't even trust their neighbour. These some pictures from earlier in the day in Tahrir Square, the numbers swelling over and over again. They do this every day. Around this time, the numbers swell, and it's into the afternoon that we start seeing... Sorry, if you forgive me for a moment, I'm just hearing a few things in my ear here at the moment. Let's pause for a moment. We'll gather our thoughts here and actually have a look at things on the web, because that story's changed as well. We've talked about the way things have changed over the last few days. There was no internet for a lot of this initially. Now it's back. Caroline Malone's over at our Egypt web desk looking at what's coming out of Egypt. Caroline.
Well, that's right, Kamal. Our online journalists in Cairo have been uploading photos onto Flickr for us. We can take a look at some of them now. These show a group of injured men in Liberation Square who are being assisted by their fellow protesters. Well, our correspondent took these pictures during the violent clashes that began late on Wednesday. We've also been receiving more information on the internet ever since restrictions were lifted in Egypt. The authorities prevented most people from using the internet from the evening of Thursday the 27th. At that point, we can see how online activity plummeted to near zero. But since internet providers have been able to get back up and running again, internet traffic has increased. Now services are nearing normal levels again. So now that the internet is beginning to work again, there have been more tweets coming into us here. So people witnessing the violence with their own eyes have been speaking via tweets. A woman describes herself as a mother, a journalist and a skeptic, says, "I will continue to play my role as a reporter as long as there is still breath within me. My tools are changing, but my role remains." There's also an appeal from London to Cairo. A call to the youth of Cairo. Protesters are shattered and need help. There's no food left in Tahrir Square. We need support now. Please help. And from Masa Berzering, he says some of the thugs were captured confessing that the police promised them the equivalent of $1,000 if they succeeded in taking over Tahrir Square. Well, you can, of course, keep up to date on those tweets and our latest news via our live blog on our website. And we'll continue to update you on what we receive. Back to you, Kamal.
All right, Caroline, thank you for that. Pick up on a point that Caroline made there, that one of the tweets that she said there of someone saying they will continue to play their role as a reporter. The media's been crucial. New media and old media, if you want to put it that way. They've both been crucial in this story. We've outlined plenty of times the restrictions which we, Al Jazeera, are reporting under, not naming our correspondents for their own safety because of the restrictions put on us by the Egyptian government. I want to bring in one of those correspondents on the line now to just give us an idea of how the media in Egypt reacts. We keep looking here from a global perspective. How is the Egyptian media playing this now, especially in light of what happened yesterday?
Well, it's a very interesting question, Kamal, because you can definitely notice a shift in the media here over the past several days. You know, when you look at the events of last Friday, the tone of the media there was obviously one somewhat of ambivalence because it tried to keep its distance. It wasn't really reporting on what was happening. It tried to show the situation as being stable and secure. Yes, it made reference to the protest that took place and to the violence. Over the past several days, as the protesters began to gain momentum, gain strength, and a lot of international media attention, the Egyptian media was by far and large, ignoring what was happening in the heart of Cairo, just a short distance away from their headquarters are. What really happened over the past 24 hours is a great thing because you can notice a very seismic shift in the tone of the media. After President Mubarak's speech, where he tried to project that the issue of security and stability was paramount to what Egypt, or to what his presidency was about, you really start capturing that a little bit in the media. The media now has portrayed the battle in Egypt between those who are promoting anarchy, those that are traitors, against those that seek stability and security. In fact, yesterday, it was referring to those pro-Mubarak supporters as trying to reimpose stability. They reject anarchy. We're hearing, again, more and more accounts that people are calling in saying that there are foreign elements here within the protesters, that these foreign elements are behind them and giving it that kind of element which Egyptians always, they play on, the Egyptian state media plays on, that there's foreign interference in trying to destabilize the country. There was actually an eyewitness who appeared on television on one of the private channels, not Egyptian state-owned, but one of the private channels that is very close to the government, essentially saying that she was trained in the United States by Israel to protest and how to carry out these demonstrations in a way to project that these protesters are being orchestrated by foreign elements trying to destabilize the country. So very interesting development, and more interestingly that it's now spreading to some of the private channels. We've talked about how much the media in Egypt has been under immense strain. International media, journalists like Al Jazeera and others, they've been attacked. We know that. We've seen that. What's interesting now is to see the Egyptian private channels also succumbing to some of that pressure with some of the tones that they're coming out in.
Thank you for that. Just a really quick thought before we do go back to the phone from Thomas Gurgasin in the studio about the media. Our correspondent there telling us there that it's becoming a battle between the anarchists and those who seek security. I mean, if you look at the pictures yesterday, it didn't look like anyone was looking for security there, did it? It can't be that.
I mean, how it is reflected in the media. I mean, I don't know exactly what he was focusing on it, but generally they are what is called the government or pro-government media, which is definitely talking about something different, which is calling about this calm situation to restore life in detail.
Well, he was saying that it's spreading to the private media as well, this pressure to portray it as anarchists, the pro-democracy.
But generally, till I read today's newspaper at least, and then maybe it was somehow in television, maybe I saw some of these reports, but in the print media, which is like now it's written and all over the world, which will be the internet, I saw that Masri Lyon, for example, and Shuru, exactly they are portraying what's going on in these clashes, and there are a lot of criticism going on, and then expectations, whatever the pro-democracy is reflected. I mean, it's a battle of the media too. I mean, I think this is another thing, which is like that's why it's worth watching all this, because it's a matter of the battle of generations, the battle of politicians and people, the battle of media, the battle of pro-government and for anti-government or pro-democracy people, and the battle of course, how people are covering or discovering or uncovering all these details in what's going on in this part of the world now.
The battle for Egypt in so many ways, isn't it? On the line now, an activist who we are going to protect his name, I believe, because I guess things are very tense down there. What's it been like? Tell me about your ability to speak freely and the ability of anyone, pro-Mubarak or pro-democracy supporters, to speak freely down there.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, it's extremely difficult. I think most people are feeling extremely insecure, and they tend to get tense if there's somebody walking around in their neighborhood, which they feel especially affiliated to now because of the disappearance of the police for those 48 hours. And so they've had to protect their neighborhoods. And so anybody trying to speak either for or against Mubarak obviously creates a lot of tension.
Do you trust anyone? Someone was telling us earlier, one of our correspondents was saying that she'd spoken to someone who said, I don't even trust my neighbor anymore. You just can't believe anything. Is that how you feel?
Well, that's the interesting thing about Tahrir Square yesterday. I think up until last night, what a lot of people were commenting on was how the kind of paranoia that gets usually caused by sort of a police state really had disappeared from Tahrir Square for the last 5 or 6 days. Yesterday, because the media was sending out messages that there was going to be a kind of massacre in Tahrir Square, and because there was an enormous number of people who we were getting messages from people who had seen them come were actually thugs hired by the government, people started to become instant again and started to be a little bit more suspicious of the people that were around them. And so a lot of precautions had to be taken to make sure that people didn't get hurt in the demonstration, that nobody would lose their temper with somebody saying the wrong thing or not saying the right thing.
But still, and this is a theme I've gone back to repeatedly today, still the people head back there. Are you heading back there today? Are you not frightened by what you're seeing? We're looking at pictures from yesterday of the people charging in the street, the camels and horseback and these sorts of things. Does it not put fear into you?
Right. It's well, it's an interesting thing. I remember at the beginning of the day when that Mubarak sort of demonstration, as they call it in the media, which was, I think, a mix of like a number of people who had genuine grievances, and then 2 other groups, sort of thugs and security force people in civil dress. A lot of people were crying, and they were crying because they knew that they were going to be pushed into something that over the past couple of days they realized they really didn't want to do. And that's what it ended up being. People were afraid. There was messages getting sent on mobile phones. People were calling us from our homes, our mothers and our brothers, saying that the TV was saying that everybody was really going to get killed.
Some great insights there from an activist on the ground there. We're not naming for his safety. Thank you for that. It goes back to the point, I'll bring Thomas back in here in the studio. It goes back to the point that yes, people are scared, and they would be right to be scared by what they see there.
Of course.
But as you made the point, it's not about a week of fear. It's about 20, 30 years of building up to this point, isn't it?
And it's as we said, it's always this game. If you were in demonstrations, if you were studying demonstrations or activism, you were there. So it will be, as long as I am there, why not stay till see who is going to win and who is going to lose? Why I have to go back?